So, Sai, so when I look at your, education, you are fairly successful, right? Because you've been in IIT, you've gone to the US, you've studied there. So, if I put it from the traditional template of education, whatever was the education system, you've been very, very successful, right? So, therefore, given the fact that you're successful in whatever templates that are currently running today, right? And the template that you are now looking to change as a part of Comni learning that you have, how do you see it different, and what do you see are the challenges? Because at one end you've been so successful in the old template, right? If you are not somebody who said, oh, I'm a dropout, and I did not go to the school, you've been fairly really successful in the old template, right? If I were to call it the current template, right? So what does that mean to what you're doing today? Because that's worked very well, right? So therefore, how does it change given the new framework that you're building?
I think that's a great tragedy of our education system that someone who went down that path could be considered a success. So I was very successful at one thing, which was, I think, cracking exams and doing well in standardized exams. And that did get me, quite the distance. But it also shielded me from real world and reality for a very long time, almost 30 years. And I mean, I almost have to laugh or maybe cry and look back and say that we have a system that shields you from the real world, creates a very artificial world where the things that matter are very, very different from what matters in the real world, right? So your exams don't matter at all in the real world, right? What matters is whether you can get the job done. Our education system started off as a proxy for getting the job done, but that was in the industrial age. And the real world has evolved and moved on very quickly, but the world of education is not. And it's I think very sad that we still have the system where so tens of lakhs of Indians go through these competitive treadmills, whether it's IIT, IAS, spending 4 or 5 years, kids start as young as 6, going through all of that. Of course, when you go through that, you come up with any test, you will have people who excel at that, who probably have other abilities as well. And I don't think it's a merit of the system itself. It's just that you're just literally dumping tens of millions of people through a filter, and you're going to get someone out of it. You are going to get true positives no matter what. Yeah, so the system, I think, having gone through that, having been on the inside and seeing very closely what it can and cannot do, really helped me realize that education, especially now, is the conventional system that we have is very separate from what is required for the new world. The new world values something else. It requires us to understand and be comfortable with ambiguity, with chaos, even with understanding how to make decisions, how to work in that. Whereas the schooling system that we have is very deterministic. It teaches you. And in my case, having gone through these multiple steps, at least for the first 25, 30 years of my life, was telling me that, life comes as a series of neatly defined packaged problems, and all you have to do is solve that and you cracked it in life, which is absolutely not the case. And I think having gone through that, then having spent 30 years within that system, I say 30 because, while the PhD does open you up to some of the ambiguities, you're still within academia. And academia is still far removed from the real world. So having gone through that and then finally exiting that and then saying, oh my God, the real world is nothing like the model, or at least the distant model we have there. That really opened up my eyes. So I think even before we had kids, there was this vague notion that we can't have this education system. But of course, I didn't really have any skin in the game. But after kids, that became especially a pressing problem. Right. So yes, I think that being on the inside really helped see the flaws